Hi, it's Mo, and this is the Mo You Know. And today we're going to be talking about how I updated my resume in 7 easy steps. So, this video is for anybody who has an okay resume, but they really want to update it and give it that push, especially because we're at the start of the year and a lot of us are looking for new opportunities and we want to put our best foot forward as we do that. So, the method that I'm about to show you is how I was able to go from resume bullets like this to this, and resume bullets like this to this. So, the first step to this method is that you have to identify a specific job title or cluster of jobs that you're going to be optimizing this resume for. And you can always go back and do this exercise for another field or title, but you want to identify that so that this resume is as specific as possible. Having a resume that generally showcases your skills is great, but having a resume that's tailored to the roles that you're applying to is always going to give you a better chance at actually landing an interview. Step two is based on the kind of jobs that you're optimizing this resume for, based on the title you've chosen, you're going to identify 5 to 7 key things that you want your resume to highlight. So when I did this exercise while I was updating my resume, I chose to optimize my resume for learning and development roles. So a little background about me, I work in higher education, but I want to pivot into the learning and development space. So that's why I found myself updating my resume recently. The 7 key things that I chose to highlight in this resume were expertise in training, design, and delivery, understanding business needs, strong communication and influencing skills, metric-based results, recognized education and certifications, leadership skills, and passion for the work.
So if you're following along with me, copy and paste your resume and paste it into a new document and get ready to make some extensive changes. The next thing I did was something called a so what exercise, which is something that my career coach taught me. And it is a great confidence building exercise, but it's also really great for editing your resume. So you're going to go through every bullet in your resume and you're going to write a so what blurb for every single bullet that you have. For example, in my first role here, I have led continuous assessments and generated monthly reports using Salesforce and other client relationship management systems to inform and enhance recruitment strategies. So a so what blurb for a bullet like that might look like this. So what? This is important because I was only briefly trained in Salesforce and I was still able to use the software to independently create reports, which would then inform strategic planning. It reflects my ability to hit the ground running and to be a self-starter who can own projects and develop creative ways to approach problems, even with minimal guidance. So the so what exercise is really useful because there's a lot of things that we do at all of our jobs that we don't include in our resume, either because we don't know how to phrase it professionally or because we feel like we need to write the bullet as short as possible. So this so what exercise helps you to identify all of the important aspects of a certain bullet that you might not be including in the resume. And I promise, guys, just trust the process because this is going somewhere. So by the end of this exercise, you should have a document that looks like this. And I'm going to include a PDF version of all of the stages of my resume editing in the description. So don't feel like you need to read all of this in video form. So in order to synthesize this information, we're going to employ the help of artificial intelligence here. You can also use regular intelligence, but I'm going to show you a shortcut. We are going to copy and paste the old bullet and the new so what blurb, and we're going to go over to ChatGPT and we're going to give ChatGPT a prompt. Optimize this resume bullet for a learning and development role. Now, I put learning and development because I am interested in learning and development roles. But if you're interested in marketing, change that to marketing role. You can change that to recruitment role. You can change that to project management. Use whatever title that you identified in the first step in order to give ChatGPT this prompt. So ChatGPT is going to give you something that looks like this. Independently utilize Salesforce and other client relationship management systems to generate and analyze monthly enrollment reports, leveraging minimal training to inform strategic recruitment planning and enhance operational effectiveness. Demonstrated a self-starter mindset by quickly mastering new tools and delivering actionable insights that shaped data-driven strategies. Now, you probably think, okay, this resume bullet already sounds way better. I guess we're going to go with that. Absolutely not. And you're going to take all of the new bullets that you've created and synthesized, and you're going to put them in a document independently. What you're going to notice when you put your new bullets in this document is that it's going to be pretty long. We're going to have to edit the hell out of these bullets and prioritize. And once we have our newly synthesized bullets, we are going to recall the things that we outlined in step 2 as priorities that we wanted to highlight in our resume. So remember, step 2 was to identify the top 5 to 7 things that you want to highlight in your resume. So you're going to list those things in this document, and you're going to give each of those things a color. out of those 5 to 7 things, one of them should definitely be metric based results. And what that means is that you're going to demonstrate in your resume using numbers that you can produce results. Regardless of what field you're in, this is an absolute necessity. So make sure that your first thing is metric based results, and then list your 5 to 7 other things that you want to highlight in this resume and give them all a color. Because what we're going to do is color code this resume according to the different priorities that we have. For example, let's use the first bullet as an example. Spearheaded global outreach efforts engaging over 20,000 prospective students. So this first half of this sentence highlights that I'm a strong communicator and influencer because I'm the person who's responsible for global outreach to students. The second half of this sentence shows a metric based result because it shows that these events that I'm doing are targeting students, and it's targeting about 20,000 of them. So you're going to go through your resume and you're going to color code for all of these different things. By the end of this phase, you should have a resume that looks something like this. All of your bullets should be color coded according to the different priorities that you've identified. I love this color coding method because it makes it really easy to see which priorities are overrepresented on your resume and which priorities are underrepresented on your resume, with the goal here being to create a balanced picture of who you are as a professional. Step is the cut and cleanup phase. So there are a few goals here in this stage. The first is to cut large blocks of color and make them shorter. Since all of the color represents different ideas and priorities, we know that if a single color is taking up too much space, then that means it's only lending itself to one of those things. So we can get rid of that. And the second goal here is to add metrics, aka numbers, to your resume. The third goal in this step is to identify which colors are missing or underrepresented and try to represent them more. And the last goal here is to tailor each bullet more to the priority that it's supposed to be serving. So, for example, the first edit I made on my resume in this stage was I changed spearheaded global outreach efforts to transform senior leadership's long-term vision into actionable strategies for global outreach. Now, why did I do that? Because this yellow portion at least on my resume, is supposed to communicate strong communication and influencing skills. And I thought I can communicate that I'm a strong communicator better than just saying that I led global outreach. How can I be more specific, and how can I invoke specific types of communication? So one thing I wanted to highlight was that in past roles, I've worked with leadership in order to support long-term vision. So I literally put that, and that was the first edit that I made. The next edit that I made here was I added a metric because I saw that for this big block of yellow and a little bit of orange, I didn't have any green. And the goal is to put as much or as many metrics in your resume as possible. So I added, instead of saying that I reversed declining enrollment trends in my role, I changed that to resulting in a 15% increase in enrollment. So I'm saying the exact same thing. I'm just identifying a number and finding a way to express that as a numerical thing. The next edit that I made was that I changed leveraging minimal training to inform recruitment planning and enhance operational effectiveness to delivering actionable insights that improve recruitment strategies. I just felt like that was too long. And then I added another metric here again and contributed to a 12% increase in inquiry to application conversion rates. And if you don't have exact numbers, guys, you can estimate. Another edit I made in this phase to add more metrics is, instead of saying that I led stakeholder engagement efforts tailored to the needs of students to drive institutional visibility, I said I did all of that to increase event attendance by 20%. And I added another metric here. Instead of saying successfully attracting both external and current students to this program, I said I attracted over 5,000 external visitors, generating a 15% increase in website traffic related to the event. So once again, just going through the resume and trying to figure out where you can add numbers. This is another one. Instead of saying I did something that supported all students, I just put 100% of students. It's a tiny change, but it makes a big difference. And like I said, all of the phases of my resume editing are going to be in a static document. So don't feel like you have to read all of this while it's on screen. And this is another example. My yellow is supposed to represent strong communication and influencing skills. So originally I had that I was chosen to participate on a Mars Wrigley panel advising the senior leaders on strategies for recruitment. But the whole point of my yellow section is it's supposed to demonstrate my strong communication skills. So instead of starting that bullet with something as weak, like chosen to participate, I decided to start it off directly with advise. So I said directly advise senior leaders at Mars Wrigley on recruiting early talent, instead of saying that I was chosen to participate. This is also kind of a writing lesson too, because in the original bullet, I'm using the passive voice, but in the new one, I'm saying that I directly advise. I'm using the active voice. And if you're looking at a bullet and you're like, I'm not sure how I could possibly put a number in this, you can literally copy and paste a bullet into ChatGPT and say, add a quantity to this and use it as an idea for where you would add a quantity. At this point, I had realized, like, okay, these bullets look better, but some of them are still really long. So we have to start getting crazy. So this is where I started cutting out unnecessary information. I cut out this part about quickly mastering new tools because I just felt like it wasn't adding anything anymore with all of the information that I had already put in. The next thing that I did was cut down this entire block because this is so long. So instead of saying that I created tailored presentations for diverse audiences and all of this, I changed it to something more concise, utilize advanced skills in PowerPoint and other tools to make presentations for stakeholders, local government, and staff. And then I added a quantity at the end. Once again, always try to add a metric where you can. I decided to cut out this entire orange section because once again, I didn't feel like it was making my resume any stronger. And I already had some orange represented in this first bullet. So I wanted to just do without that. And like I said, this is really one of the beauty of color coding things by ideas that you can see like, okay, I've already shown that I can do this for this particular role. So if I need to get rid of information, let me get rid of something that's the same color and saying the same things. So sometimes when you're going through this metric phase, what you'll realize is you have numbers that you know about that you haven't been using. For example, I taught a public speaking course, and I totally didn't have in the old version of my resume that I got 100% satisfaction rate on student reported course evaluations. But that's actually really important. Before I only had I had 100% pass rate, but that only reflects how well the students did in the class. The self-reported survey shows that my students really like me a lot. Another example of that was in the original version of my resume, I didn't have that for my student advisor role previously, that I was managing a grant budget of $266,000. Like for some reason that just was not in the original version of my resume. But once I realized, hey, like you need more metrics in this resume, that's when my brain started generating these ideas for things that I can include. And of course, I made other edits. If you want to see all of the different edits that I made, like I said, the static version of all of these stages is linked in the description for this video. So once you're done adding numbers everywhere you can and making sure that every color block is really communicating the priority that you've, identified that you want it to communicate, you're going to clean up this version of your resume and it's going to bring you to your last phase, which is the final clean copy. The goal is to get this to around 2 pages. So in this version of my resume, things are more spaced out. So it goes to a complete 3 pages. But the version of my resume that I usually send out to anybody is usually about 2 pages maximum. But it looks extremely different than the resume that I had before. And I'm really proud of it.
I'm Mo, and this is the Mo You Know, and now you Mo how to update your resume in 7 steps. Let me know in the comments if this method worked for you, if you have any thoughts, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel.